مساء الخير وأهلا بكم إلى هذه الحلقة الجديدة من واشنطن أونلاين. وفي ملفنا الأول لهذه الحلقة، جماعات ضغط سياسية تصعد من عملها السياسي وتحركاتها في واشنطن لتحث الإدارة الأمريكية على معاقبة أنقرة على تصعيدها الكبير ضد مناطق في الشرق الأوسط وأوروبا قبيل الانتخابات التركية المقبلة. فالتصعيد التركي اليوم لا يقتصر على تصعيد في الشمال السوري وتصعيد قوات سوريا الديمقراطية، بل يمتد إلى عنف سياسي موصوف كما تراه الحكومة اليونانية ضد اليونان والأراضي اليونانية والأجواء اليونانية. هذا ما نبحثه في الملف الأول من هذه الحلقة مع ضيفي، وهو أندي زمانيدس، رئيس المجلس القومي للعلاقات الأمريكية اليونانية. ابقوا معنا لمتابعة هذه الحلقة. وأبدأ هذه الحلقة بالترحيب بضيفي السيد أندي زمانيدس، رئيس المجلس القومي للعلاقات الهلينية الأمريكية، وهو أكبر لوبي سياسي يضغط على إدارة جو بايدن اليوم لمعاقبة أنقرة على عدة ملفات مرتبطة بتصعيدها في الشمال السوري وكذلك ضد الأراضي اليونانية. أرحب بك، أهلا وسهلا بك سيد أندي. سيد أندي، نسمع ونقرأ بيانات من بعض الشخصيات في مجلس الشيوخ الأمريكي مثل بوب مينانديز وفان هولن عن السلوك التركي في منطقة الشرق الأوسط، ولكن هل هذا الاعتراض الأمريكي في مجلس الشيوخ يمتد إلى الشعب الأمريكي؟ هل هناك فعلا انزعاج أمريكي عام اليوم بإمكاننا أن نقول من هذا السلوك التركي الأخير في المنطقة، سواء ضد ما يحدث من قصف ضد قوات سوريا الديمقراطية في الشمال السوري أو انتهاكات عسكرية للأراضي اليونانية؟
So it's not necessarily a question of it being a popular opinion, but it is the prevailing opinion. And it's not only Menendez and Van Hollen, even though Menendez by himself, it's an important opinion because he's the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. But let's go back a couple of years when the Turkish relationship with Russia really revealed itself in the case of the S-400s. And let's remember that in the New York Times, there was an opinion that was co-authored by Senators Menendez, Senator Risch, the ranking Republican on foreign relations, Senator Reid, the chairman of armed services, and Senator Inhofe, the ranking Republican on armed services, condemning Turkey's acquisition of S-400s. When we look at the letters, we've seen letter after letter from Congress critiquing Turkey's S-400 purchases, Turkey's overflights of Greece, Turkey's attacks on the Kurds, Turkey's oppression of the Armenian Patriarch, of the Ecumenical Patriarch, of its treatment of journalists. So the conventional wisdom in Washington has changed at the think tank level, in the press, for sure in the press. It was not too long ago that Erdogan was being given carte blanche to write opinions in the Washington Post and the New York Times. It has been slower to change in the foreign policy bureaucracy, specifically at the State Department. Not because I don't think they see Turkey more positively. I think they're trying to buy time. They're convinced. I don't think I'm convinced, but they are convinced that Erdogan may lose, and they want to retain the relationship with Turkey. But until Washington exercises its leverage and shows Turkey that Washington doesn't need Ankara as much as Ankara needs Turkey, Ankara needs Washington, Turkey is going to believe that Washington blinks. So the prevailing view in Congress has to be a prevailing view within the administration as well.
سيد أندي، الرئيس أردوغان يتهم الولايات المتحدة بأنها تدعم منظمات إرهابية على الأراضي السورية وأنها من صنع الإرهاب في سوريا وغيرها. هناك أيضا حالة كبيرة من التوتر بين الولايات المتحدة وتركيا بسبب اتهامات أمريكية للجانب التركي بدعم روسيا أو بتسهيل الأمور على روسيا ورجال أعمال روس مرتبطين بالحكومة الروسية للتهرب من العقوبات. كل هذا التوتر، ولكن نسمع من جو بايدن أنه لا يزال منفتح على بيع تركيا طائرات F-16. لماذا لا تزال العلاقة الأمريكية التركية محافظة على هذا الشكل من الانسجام رغم كل هذه التوترات التي تشوبها؟
Well, Turkey, those of your audience who are in real estate know that Turkey uh, enjoys one of the prime benefits of good real estate, which is location, location, location. Uh, in the case of Ukraine, you see it that if we're going to have, as we have now, a grain deal, it's going to pass through the Dardanelles, uh, which are controlled by Turkey. If you're going to contain the Russian fleet in the Black Sea, you need Turkish support. If you, so their geography and the fact that Turkey borders just a lot of hotspots right now is a benefit for Turkey. Of course, they've been using it as a tool for blackmail or a tool for diplomatic leverage. I think there is the disconnect. There are people in Washington uh, who who would expect an ally to come through when you need them to come through. Uh, Turkey sees that Washington needs us now, so let's extract more, or let's use it just as leverage. I think in the long term, this is going to boomerang on Turkey. This is not how allies act. If everything is going to be a transaction, but in the short term, Washington does need, not only Washington, Ukraine needs Turkey. Unfortunately, the third world needs Turkey. This grain deal is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, there will be people starving this winter. This doesn't make people look at Turkey as all of a sudden this doesn't absolve Turkey of all its sins in the eyes of policymakers or analysts. Um, but in the short term, as long as this situation persists, Turkey's going to have special leverage.
نعم، خلال العقد الأخير وربما منذ أيام دونالد ترامب وقبل ذلك أيضا، واليوم في عهد الرئيس جو بايدن، تطورت العلاقات اليونانية الأمريكية إلى حد كبير. هناك انسجام كبير بين الإدارات الجمهورية والديمقراطية لليونان، وهي ند ومناوئ تاريخي للدولة التركية. هل هذا التطور في العلاقات الأمريكية اليونانية يقود إلى اتكال أكبر على اليونان في منطقة شرق المتوسط بشكل قادر على تغيير شكل العلاقة الأمريكية التركية؟
Yeah, I would go as far back as the end of the Obama administration. I think when Turkey started showing itself increasingly unreliable, especially in Syria. And that's why Washington created this relationship with the Kurds, because Turkey was not going to devote any troops to fighting ISIS. At that same time, President Obama sent Ambassador Pyatt, one of the State Department's best ambassadors, to Greece to really revive and upgrade that bilateral relationship. And if you recall, I mean, in a space of 3 years, just some amazing developments. President Obama's last trip overseas was to Greece. Within a year, President Trump had invited Prime Minister Tsipras to the White House, and 2 years later, he invited Prime Minister Mitsotakis to the White House, and now President Biden this past May invited Prime Minister Mitsotakis to the White House, and Congress, the Speaker Pelosi, granted Prime Minister Mitsotakis a joint address to Congress. Greece has proven itself reliable. That's the difference. Turkey is unreliable. Greece is reliable. Greece was one of the first NATO countries to start arming Ukraine. Greece has maintained, and again, going back to the Obama administration, when the Syriza government, which the literal title of that party is the party of the radical left, got in, everybody thought maybe Greece was going to be the weak link in maintaining sanctions over Crimea or the Minsk process. And no, Greece held fast. Greece actually has developed quite a rupture in relations with Russia. And while at the same time being a focal point for partnerships with, as you noted, Arab states, with Israel, with new international fora like the East Med Gas Forum. So a new community of nations is being built, the East Med Gas Forum, the Abraham Accords, the European single defense and foreign policy is coming together faster, probably because of Russia's uh, invasion of Ukraine, and Greece is a player in all of that.
مجلس القيادة الهلينية الأمريكية قام في السنوات الأخيرة بجهود سياسية كبيرة لتسليط الضوء على الانتهاكات التركية ليس فقط بحق اليونان ولكن أيضا بحق سوريا ودول أخرى في المنطقة. هناك بعض التحركات السياسية التي قمتم بها هنا في واشنطن بالتعاون مع لوبيات وجماعات سياسية كردية وأرمنية. ماذا تخبرنا عن قدرة هذا النوع من التعاون على تحقيق نتائج ملموسة على الأرض هنا تغير السياسات الأمريكية تجاه تركيا؟
Well, you're talking about several American groups aligned that are issues-based groups and ethnic groups, but we believe America is stronger and American foreign policy is stronger when it pursues both its values and its interests. And in specifically in the cases that you talked about, there have been all kinds of pragmatic excuses to forget the fate of the Kurds or to look the other way as Armenian civilians are being attacked, or and this goes on today, somehow justify the thousands of incursions by Turkey in violations of Greek airspace. But this is costing America credibility in the world. Let's take the Kurds, for example, because it really relates to Turkey. America turned to the Kurds to fight ISIS on the ground because Turkey wouldn't do it. We can't abandon the Kurds. And afterwards, we're abandoning them. Who is going to spill their blood for American interests after they see how you treated the Kurds? You can't allow Azerbaijan and Turkey to use American weapons to wage war on Armenian civilians. And, going back to the F-16 matter, one of the reasons State Department gives for considering sales of F-16s is NATO alliance unity. Well, what kind of NATO alliance unity are you promoting if those very F-16s are going to be used to challenge the sovereignty of another NATO member? So this core inconsistency in American foreign policy is leading to bad policy. It's leading to flashpoints, and it's allowing autocratic regimes, especially those in Turkey and Azerbaijan, to believe that they can get away with the worst of their behavior.
بريت ماجورك منسق شؤون الأمن القومي الأمريكي في البيت الأبيض، وحين كان خارج البيت الأبيض حين كان مواطن عادي، انتقد تركيا واتهمها صراحة بأنها تدعم جماعات إرهابية على الأراضي السورية. اليوم بريت ماجورك هو مسؤول وصانع قرار في البيت الأبيض. هل يقوم ماجورك وهل تقوم إدارة جو بايدن اليوم بما يكفي لوقف الدعم التركي لهذه الجماعات الإرهابية التي يتمدد نفوذها في الشمال السوري؟
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. The Biden administration is being pretty consistent, with the Trump administration in terms of withdrawing from the region. We heard it in the reasoning for the withdrawal of Afghanistan. We're going to look over the horizon. We can strike terrorists over the horizon. But the fact is, you laid it out perfectly. Turkey became a jihadist highway for jihadists to cross the border and do extreme damage in Syria. We don't know how things are going to rebalance now that Turkey definitely at Russian behest said we can live with Assad remaining in power. They're trying clearly to make a trade-off. We won't wage war against Assad if you let us wage war against the Kurds. This is going to remain a conflict-ridden region with specifically horrible consequences, not only for the Kurds, but for the Christians in the region. And not enough attention has been given there. Not nearly enough attention has been given there. And this is really a shame. I mean, what do we need? Do we need ISIS coming and marking Christian doors? That's when people paid attention and at the beginning of this, and there was some genocide legislation. Everybody talks about protecting Christians and other religious minorities, but it always seems like the other religious minorities are protected and not Christians.
وأخيرا سيد أندي، تركيا اعتمدت إلى حد كبير في تدخلها السياسي والعسكري في الأراضي السورية على نقطة الرابطة الإثنية أو الدينية المشتركة مع بعض الجماعات التركمانية أو غيرها في الشمال السوري. هناك روابط إثنية ودينية أيضا مشتركة بين اليونان وجماعات تحديدا مسيحية في الأراضي السورية. كيف تصف علاقات اليونان مع هذه الجماعات على الأراضي السورية؟ وهل من الممكن أن تنطلق اليونان في علاقاتها مع دول في الشرق الأوسط، يعني سوريا وغيرها، مثل لبنان والأراضي الفلسطينية، بناء على هذه العلاقات مع هذه الجماعات؟ كيف تصف علاقات اليونان مع الجماعات المرتبطة باليونان دينيا وإثنيا؟
Well, Greece traditionally has, I don't want to say a political influence, but tremendous soft power influence in the region among Christians because of the existence of the patriarchates of Alexandria, of Jerusalem. Antioch seems of late to have been closer to Russia than to Greece, but the Greek Orthodox Church has been very front and center in the region. I do think Greece can add some diplomatic heft to this, and highlight the plight of these Christians, especially at the European Union. They have, when Greece is doing trilateral mechanisms with Egypt or with Jordan, discussing, especially in kind of the diaspora features of those trilateral mechanisms, discussing the fate or somehow helping those Christian communities would be helpful. Uh, Turkey was using it as a way of its own specific influence in the region. They were trying to make these people an unofficial lobby for Turkey, or a way for Turkey to leverage its influence, not the other way around. I think Greece, because it's part of this new community of nations that's being constructed, I think Greece is an important voice to make sure no community, no specific group within that community of nations should be left behind. And I think it can do this.
نعم، شكرا جزيلا لك ضيفي السيد أندي زمانيدس، كنت معنا من واشنطن عبر سكايب.
Thank you, Hadil.